So this month I was uh, adding a feature that was actually solving a huge issue with the product. But the thing was that I used all the resources that we had on that one problem. And it ended up being that that problem was not solvable by software. So all those resources were sort of wasted. And what I was thinking was that a better approach to that kind of a thing would be to like acknowledge, okay, so there is a high priorities. We have these high priorities, right? And then there is something that is also very important. Like this thing happened, like the user saying something along the lines of, if you would add this one thing and fix that thing, then I would use it. But if they're not using it now, it's a lie. And I think the lesson of this thing is to have the high priorities and acknowledge the high priorities, and then use your resources wisely amongst those high priorities. So never use all of your resources on one thing, because if that one thing doesn't work, then you just wasted your resources trying to solve a thing that didn't work. So let's specify the lesson. The lesson is know your priorities. Then spread your resources amongst the priorities and never like fully immerse into one priority until it's extremely important. But rarely things aren't that important, and things are quite less urgent most of the time. And the steps are, so if the user says like, yeah, I would use the product if you had this one thing in it, and they're not using it now, they're lying. And then acknowledge the high priority, then spread your resources amongst the high priorities. And also, so you have to set timelines for those priorities, right? If the timeline is so if you use the time that you were supposed to use, then you should not use more, and you should just change to another high priority, because that is where you have to leave the ship and just move on. And then later maybe you can fix the problem, the priority. I think there was two kind of a mixed lessons here, but the main lesson of this thing is to know your priorities, spread your resources amongst those priorities, and have timelines for those priorities. And the steps are: know your priorities, set timelines when you will work on those priorities, and if the thing is not working, then you want to change the priorities that you're working on currently.